does Captain Lantis live in? The answer is Beta Town.
Hi guys, it's Beth Kelly here, one of the DSNs from the Twitter sphere. Hope you can't hear the cockerel in the background. That's the one I'm always whinging about on Twitter. My question is, from the chat that I did with you guys, what was my favourite flavour of Monster Munch? The answer is roast beef.
Hi, my name's Dan, and my question is, what football team or soccer team do I support? The answer is Arsenal, the pride of North London.
So my question relates to JDRF's digits. So I want you to think of a person that's lived with type 1 diabetes for 70 years. And I want you to guess how many injections of insulin they would have had in that time. Is it A, 10,000 injections? Is it B, 50,000 injections? Is it C, 100,000 injections? Or is it D, 1,000,000 injections? So the answer is C, 100,000 insulin injections.
During pregnancy with type 1 diabetes, does your body start producing insulin again? The answer is yes. Somewhere in the first trimester of pregnancy, your immune system relaxes to allow your embryo to keep growing, and it means that your beta cells can start producing some insulin again. It doesn't start becoming fully functioning though.
In cricket, what does LBW stand for? The answer is leg before wicket.
Hi Tom, here's my question. In the ACBRD's research, how many people with diabetes have experienced some form of stigma due to their diabetes? Is it 1 in 4, 1 in 3, or 4 in 5? And the answer is 4 in 5 people have experienced some form of stigma due to their diabetes.
Hello, you beautiful people. A quick little question for you. Now, this is in relation to a little bit of my life, me being an ex-footballer. But who was the first open type 1 diabetic in the United Kingdom to come clean and admit they were type 1 and talk fully about it in their autobiography Against All Odds? Which footballer was this noble, amazing gentleman? And if you can also guess which football team he played for, that would also be an added point. But I'm adding points in there just for the fun of it. The answer is the legend, the guru, Gary Mabbott.
What steps can one living with diabetes take to manage their mental health? It's getting outdoors, seeing nature, deep breathing, exercises when you're really stressed. All of that can help. If I could have like a billboard and have something out there, it'd be, don't be afraid to ask for help, because so often people don't, and there's so much that can be done. So if you think you're having issues, reach out.
Which is the world's top-selling diabetes drug? Lantus, Levemir, or sitagliptin? The answer is Lantus.
So my question is, who was the first ever person with type 1 diabetes to receive a dose of insulin successfully? Successfully. That's important. And the answer is Leonard Thompson. I'm sure you all knew that, but if you didn't, don't feel stupid, because no one is as stupid as me in quizzes. I promise you that.
What does the hashtag nothing about us without us means to me? And I'm going to break it down what it means, nothing about us without us, as it means to so many others. So basically, this is a global hashtag that has gotten the attention of millions of people. The idea is that a change would be impossible if we do not get involved, get engaged, and come up together to create the change that we need. Our lived experiences will help to make a change, and not statistics alone. It's our real lived experiences that reach people. We are special actors that can shape the global response. respond to NCDs such as diabetes. It's just us in the room with our lived experiences willing to speak up. It's for us that we have to consistently speak up whenever we get the chance to do so. No one else will be bold enough for our cause. Therefore, it has to be by us. And together we say nothing about us without us. Thank you.
Who was the inventor of the first battery-operated blood glucose monitor? The answer is Stanley Clarke. He was an Australian. He was actually from Sydney, and it was in the late 70s. He designed and developed a blood glucose meter for his daughter Lisa, who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
We all know that we give insulin in units, but how did Bantim, Collett, Best and MacLeod work out how much insulin was in a single unit? It turns out that it was the amount of insulin required to give one of the rabbits in the original test set a hypo. We don't use those units anymore, but that's the origin of a unit of insulin.
Depression, diabetes distress, and diabetes burnout are three concepts that are often used interchangeably when trying to understand the psychosocial impacts of type 1 diabetes. What often happens is that people confuse the difference between diabetes distress and burnout. So the question is, what is the difference between diabetes distress and burnout? The answer to that is diabetes distress is not like depression. It's not a psychiatric disorder, but it actually refers more so to the negative emotions experienced by people who live with type 1 diabetes. And diabetes distress includes emotional stress, behavioral challenges that are a symptom or a product of the burden of living with and having to self-manage type 1 diabetes on a daily basis. Diabetes burnout is a little bit different. It's associated with the barriers to adherence to diabetes treatment and is more of a consequence of the challenges associated with glycemic variability. It can be characterized by feelings of mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion of living with type 1 diabetes. And there's a lot of studies that actually show that people who live with type 1 diabetes not only feel drained and hopeless when they get into this sort of stage, but they also have difficulty with self and diabetes care and can experience some sort of form of detachment from themselves and the support systems that are in place to help them navigate. And this can lead to an increase in feeling of powerlessness and other things. So the general understanding is that diabetes distress can lead to burnout and depression and other things. It's important to make that distinction because they are two different concepts, and the struggle is that they're often used interchangeably, and it's not really clear that they are somewhat overlapping. So the associations of concepts of depression and burnout in general are found to have no real clear overlap, but this is not specifically applied to type 1 diabetes.
The answer is C, ants. So the first clinical test of diabetes was invented in ancient India, where patients exhibiting the common diabetes symptoms had their urine analysed with the help of ants. So if the sugar-loving ants came rushing to the urine, a diagnosis of Madhumeha was given, which translates to honey urine. So as we all know, diabetics have elevated levels of glucose in the urine as well as the blood, and the renal system works to expel the excess glucose from the body. So now, instead of ants, we use things like the HbA1c test to diagnose diabetes.
Okay, diabetes chat. You're out eating something delectably gorgeous, like a big ice cream sundae, and someone says to you, "Oh, are you allowed to eat that?" What is your response? Is it A, mind your own business? B, do you know anything about diabetes? Or C, explain how you titrate and calculate your dose of insulin in great detail to both astonish, astound and impress the person that's asking the question.